Hello everybody and welcome to another Stellaris video. Today I'm going to be covering everything you need to know about tech rushing and why modern day Stellaris tech rushes don't often involve building as much tech as you possibly can and then trying to maintain your economy. For example, in this video, for this build, I've been playing an empire which you might think is pretty good for tech rushing. Technocracy and Anglers gives us a good source of consumer goods and a good source of bonus tech from our leaders and extra research alternatives. However, at year 26 into the game, we come across a problem. Our capital is basically full, we have no more jobs available, our planet is full, we can add a couple more buildings, but other than that, we don't have much space left. We have an agricultural world with civilian industries on it to use angler jobs to produce as much consumer goods as we need to maintain our empire capital. And we have some other basic resource worlds to maintain our basic resource needs. However, at this point, we're not even close to ascension. We still have more than one tradition tree left to go, which is going to take at least until year 40 with just 133 unity production. And we cannot get into Cumulonipolis until at least our fourth tradition pick, meaning we're not going to be able to turn this world into a Cumulonipolis until well after year 60, meaning we're going to be stuck on a low amount of tech no matter what we do. Even if we try to dedicate more planets to technology or anything like that, we're going to have problems scaling up. And this is the problem that most tech rushes have in Stellaris these days, where if you try to build as much technology as you can, you lack unity, you lack ascension, and you lack space on your planets to really make your build work. And in addition to that, you can use things like automation districts to help with your pop issues. But if you don't have enough energy for that, or you dedicate a planet to energy so you can have automation districts, then you run out of planets to build other resources with. I don't have a planet to build alloys with right now, so I couldn't make an alloy world if I needed to. So essentially what I'm saying is, in order for a real tech rush to work in Stellaris 4.1, your build needs to be able to ascend quickly without the use of extra unity, or can produce so many resources after ascension that you can focus on unity in the early game and then ascend and then focus on tech afterwards. With that being said, let me show you guys the builds which I believe are the best for tech rushing in Stellaris 4.1. The first build is Shroud Forged. Shroud Forged is extremely capable of tech rushing, and by the way, I made a specific video about the top 5 strongest builds in Stellaris right now. Most of these builds are going to be the same as the best tech rushing builds, as tech rushing and just being a strong build in general are somewhat correlated. Anyhow, the reason why Shroud Forged is so good for tech rushing is because of the special building you get. The special building, the Shroud Observatory Tower, is a stacking tech bonus for society and physics research, allowing you to focus on engineering and get more than enough society and engineering or society and physics research just from the building. And by stacking these, you can get up to like 600-700 tech by just year 10, and easily up to 2,000 to 3,000 tech by year 30, because the ascension for this build, psionic ascension, happens guaranteed from a event that you can complete at around year 10 in the game, making this an extremely powerful tech and unity rush simultaneously. You will notice that most of the builds that I feature are going to be builds that can have some way of ascending either earlier than normal into the game or without the addition of unity, as this is going to be a very strong combination of traits that makes modern day Stellaris builds good. The next build I would like to feature is Synth Fertility. Synth Fertility is another build that ascends from a situation. You start with a situation where your pops are declining and you need to research synthetic technologies in order to ascend. You can take this as your very first tradition tree if you wanted to, meaning you can ascend at like year 15 in the game, or even earlier if you can rush the techs out quickly enough, which is not too hard when you take something like a Seasonal Dormancy, Intelligent Natural Engineers build in order to maximize your early game tech. Very powerful, and also scales incredibly as well afterwards with high pop efficiency and high pop growth. A very broken combo. I'd recommend you try it out. The next build I would like to feature is, of course, Virtual. Virtual is incredibly strong for an ascension rush, and then you convert that into a tech rush afterwards, after fully ascending. Meaning you have to complete 4 entire tradition trees before you can focus on a tech rush. However, due to the infinite pop situation after ascension, this is still a great option. I will say, if you want to, one other very powerful way to play this build is, instead of with Memorial's parliamentary system, you take Fortune Enterprises and Death Cult with a spiritualist build. Where's Death Cult? It's always corporate Death Cult. There we go. This is another way to do extremely fast Unity Rush and then convert that into a Tech Rush afterwards. As I mentioned, it is very hard to play any Tech Rush build without ascending before, without a way to ascend, as you're just going to be stuck in the mid game. The next build I would like to feature is Clone Army. Clone Army is still exceptionally good for tech rushing because of a combination of things. By completing the dig site on your capital, Clone Army is allowed to ascend into Biomorphosis before Ascension Pick 3, making this a very strong option for both ascending quickly and having an extreme amount of early game pops through the Clone Soldier situation. Another thing that we want to do is we want to take Civil Education to allow our civilians to produce tech in the early game, and we can swap this out at year 20 for regular tech jobs, which are slightly more efficient. However, in the early game, you won't be able to build jobs fast enough to match your pop growth speed, so civil education producing technology from civilians can be something extremely powerful, letting you hit 500 to 600 tech at year 10 and continue to scale up to year 20 with like nearly 1,000 tech, and then swapping over to regular tech jobs after you ascend, because that will result in a higher density of technology. A very powerful build as well, and it can be a big abuser of seasonal dormancy, giving you negative 75% upkeep from your pops, your unemployed pops. Really powerful. And the last build I'm going to feature, and also the most powerful one, is of course Knights of the Toxic God. This is the empire I'm going to be playing for this video. Toxic God is extremely overpowered because the Knights jobs produce both technology and unity, and can scale up through the situation you get to be the most efficient researcher job in the entire game. In addition, even though you have to wait to 3rd Ascension pick to ascend, because Knights are a simultaneous Unity and Tech Rush, you don't have to find a way to source Unity while Tech Rushing, meaning you can focus entirely on your Knights jobs and still do very well. I like to take Parliamentarian System and Functional Architecture for early game reasons, with Functional Architecture allowing us to access the second part of our habitat immediately, and a Parliamentary System giving us a source of early game unity, Fanatic Spiritualist, and Egalitarian. You can also play this without Spiritualist, allowing you to become a Megacorp and take advantage of an auto-curating vault, making your Knights produce trade in addition to all the technology resources they go for, but we're going to be making a separate trade planet for this video instead of relying on our Knights, which can result in a slightly higher scaling in exchange for a slightly more difficult mid-game transition period. Anyhow, Chromalogs and Cranial Mega Trophy go along well with Knights to make them produce a truly ridiculous amount of output, and we can even enable Iron Man mode here for our video. And I've just been enjoying Knights a lot recently as well, so I need any excuse I can to play it more often, as I just enjoy the challenge of managing the early game economy, and then the extreme reward you get by the just incredible pop, not pop output, but the tech output you get after you're done with the weak early game phase. Knights is an interesting build because we're going to focus on military economy earlier, whereas most other builds want civilian economy. And of course, we're going to go into our Knights situation here, and immediately changes to generous funding, which is going to hurt our alloys and our energy credit situation. However, we're going to be doing our absolute best to maintain this through any ways possible, and we're also going to just put up a 40 mineral buy, and even though I won't be able to afford it, the game will automatically kind of toggle it on and off depending on whether I can afford it. This is kind of a trick you can use by using the internal market and setting up an automated trade. You can just buy the maximum amount of resources you can afford and not have to worry about anything. And of course, we're going to be opening Mercantile, as Mercantile is just incredibly powerful and is going to be a requirement to many of the builds. that you've seen in this video. Once again, I have a link in the description to a video that goes into more detail about every single one of these builds. If you're curious about playing any other of these builds, I have videos on my channel for those. And even though I have multiple Knights videos on my channel at this point, it is super fun and people are generally quite interested in it, and so am I, because it is just super, super fun to play, even despite the nerfs that have come in for it recently. One thing we're going to do almost immediately is go into the trade policies and go on consumer benefits. And we don't want to go with the unity policy because we're going to be producing enough unity from our knights, and by being able to move more of our population jobs into knights earlier, we're actually going to be producing more unity than converting our trade into unity. Instead, we'll convert our trade into consumer goods, allowing us to gradually get rid of the rest of our consumer goods jobs. We are also quite lucky here. We have a lot of good starting leader options, right? So we have this trade focus leader here. We have an architectural interest leader here. These are both great options. I think we're going to go for the trade focus leader. It means we're going to have to make a few more alloys, but they could potentially level up and get some really... They could also get architectural interest with already trade focus 2. That could be a very, very amazing leader. Also, opening the first 2 bits of mercantile is going to give us all the benefits from mercantile we need for now, and then we're going to open up a couple other tradition trees in the meantime, which is definitely pretty insane. Our fortress station, I do want to start upgrading this, but there's a few more changes we need to make to our capital first. The first one is we're going to go with an entire second alloy foundry. We're going to disable our civilian industry at this point, or just delete it. Oops, that works as well. And the reason for that is we need to save minerals so that we can convert this district into a trade-focused district, and then we can start to focus on building up our knights jobs. And after that is done, we can finally start to kind of play the game as we normally would. Also, this is a beautiful Alpha Centauri here with 3 alloy deposits that can help our early game a lot. Knights is a build that the early game economy is so tight, any deposits you get in space are extremely helpful. Anyhow, we're going to go Prosperity here. Prosperity is going to increase our output of our star bases and or our mining systems. Not our mining systems, what am I trying to say? Our mining stations, right? And of course, standard construction templates is an amazing early game piece, and it's actually good throughout the game, to be honest. Just for the minus 10% planetary infrastructure cost and plus 25% build speed is very, very incredible. Unity gained plus 700. Sure, we can go ahead and unlock that immediately and start to get some of these buildings going. If you do have enough alloys, you can go ahead and build one of these orders Dempses as soon as you want. I would even recommend selling off some of your basic resources in order to afford it if you really need to, just to start to get things going as soon as possible. We want to keep both our planets building up as fast as they can, which can be a bit of a challenge, but we're going to do our best to try anyway. So yeah, just do keep that in mind. We're going to need how many alloys or how many minerals do we need to swap this over? 750, so we're still going to need a bunch of minerals as well. So let's go ahead and sell off the rest of our energy credits, the rest of our food, and just purchase the minerals we need in order to immediately swap this over to a commercial nexus and kind of get this build really going well. Yeah, don't feel afraid to sell any of your excess resources when playing a build like this, as we really want to just speed up the early game as much as possible, because it is so strong. The faster we scale, the better. I do want to build this station as well, just to get those 3 alloys as soon as we can, but we can't quite afford that yet, which is okay. And the next thing we're going to take is we're going to open Statecraft now to speed up our agenda speed, and start to level up our counselors. In case you're... wow, our council legitimacy is really bad. Let's take a look at why that is. I don't know why our council legitimacy is that bad. That's okay. 55% is really not good. It should be in like the 90s, ideally. But I guess it's above 50. It's not giving us any big downsides yet. So hey, we'll work with what we got. Is it because they're all spiritualist or something? Oh, it's because we have a materialist leader, despite us being... Wow, our leader really spawned as a materialist in an empire that is a fanatic spiritualist empire. So that is just really unlucky. We can get rid of them at our year 10 election, and then our council legitimacy could go up quite a bit. But that's quite unlucky, I have to say. I don't even know why that's a possibility, to be honest. It seems a bit sus to me. It seems a bit sus that that can even happen, just based on the fact that, well, our empire doesn't want to be any sort of materialist. Anyhow, let's go ahead and build another orders dem. So once we have enough minerals, we can go ahead and build an orders hall. Meanwhile, on our capital, the next thing we're going to want to do is let's sell off some consumer goods, sell off some food, or energy credits, I mean. And then we're going to go ahead. We don't want to sell off alloys. That's probably like the only resource we don't ever want to sell off, as we're going to need as much alloys as we can get, and just buy some more minerals and swap this over to an alloy only zone. And now finally, this is kind of the final configuration we want for our capital before we can just start to spam out city districts. And we also still need some more alloys to take over our first system here, but we're going to get there eventually. Our leader level ups don't matter too much in the early game, but one thing we do want to do is we want to make sure we have a scientist leader for our habitat and then a governor leader for our capital. I don't think we have any scientists that are amazing here, so we'll just take this random spiritualist guy and, eventually start leveling them up, and then we want to turn them into an analyst. By having an analyst on our station, we can get good tech output from that, and then we can have a governor on our capital, giving us very, very good trade, or the architectural interest trait from that, which can help with upkeep and that kind of thing. We're also gonna take commercial enterprises that will boost the power of our commercial nexus by quite a bit, giving us some spare consumer goods, and hopefully bringing our trade up to spec as soon as we can get that as well. Size 14 and size 13 worlds are a little bit unfortunate, but this is one of my favorite parts about playing Knights of the Toxic God, is this is probably the build I play that is least sensitive to the number of planets you happen to RNG. In fact, this build is still what I would consider to be like very, very strong S tier if you get just your guaranteeds and your homeworld. As those 4 planets can produce every resource you need in the game. You get naval capacity, unity, and tech from your habitat, and then you get trade from one of your planets, alloys from another, and then you have 1 world spare for basic resources, mainly minerals, as we're going to be trying to get our energy credits from a trade federation, leaving the only resource we need from a basic resource planet as minerals, and then other basic resources like food. We should be able to buy enough to sustain our empire for the entire game with just trade and star bases, which is plenty good. Let's go ahead and continue to buy and sell resources here, build the second orders hall, and then we can start to really expand the number of knights jobs. At this point in the game, now that our basic economy is kind of more established and actually quite good, to be honest, right? Our main goal should be to just put as many knight jobs in as we possibly can. One thing to mention is, at this point, our unity is not going to be amazing. However, as we add knight jobs, our unity is going to get better and better, and at some point we will be able to ascend relatively early into the game, long before year 30, despite the fact that we're not particularly trying to rush unity. It's more just going to be a byproduct of us playing the game in a somewhat optimal way. I also do want to research this dig site, as dig sites can give minor artifacts which are quite important, and we have a decent stash of alloys when playing this build, as your early game alloys are not terrible once you get your capital online. Don't forget to build city districts in your capital, and continuously build orders demses in your habitat. And then another action we can take to help this build even more is go to utopian abundance. Now that we have a relatively stable economy, we can afford utopian abundance. That'll increase our tech, increase our unity, and also increase the stability on our habitat without needing to build any amenities jobs, which can be a little bit annoying to build. Also, let's go ahead and enable resettlement. Whenever you're playing egalitarian builds, you always want to at some point enable resettlement, and that way we can start moving pops to our habitat to get ready for every single time we expand it. Also, for the quest situations, I've made a little bit of instructions on the best options to pick and the best outcomes, so that you know if you did everything right or wrong. That will be linked in the description below. It's a bit much to explain it every time I play Knights. But I've just been enjoying Knights so much too, I'm just going to continuously play it until I get bored of it, right? Like, always, I think it's always good to do what you enjoy. Ooh, we get the Astro Creator. That is amazing. Um, I don't know if I'll use it this episode, but if I happen to find a gas giant in my empire, I definitely will, as it could be quite fun. Although it'll probably come online too late into the game, given just how incredibly fast Knights tends to scale, especially in tech. It doesn't really scale in its regular economy as crazily fast. Um, but in terms of technology, yeah, you just suddenly have so much tech that you don't know what to do with it a lot of the time. Also, why can't we have we only have two scientists. Our leader is a scientist, right? Um, wait, I'm still confused. Why you're excavating site? Oh, you're governing the stronghold, right? If I send them onto the science ship, they'll be gone from the stronghold, right? Yeah, that's a bit. You know what? We'll send them. We'll send them onto the science ship. I think we need that more right now. Um, yeah, we just need more surveying speed, as our surveying speed is currently really bad. And how far along are we on the agenda? Not that far along, so we can go ahead and finish up mercantile before we take amongst peers. We just want the agenda speed to be sped up a little bit for now. And yeah, at this point in the game, things have kind of calmed down a bit. Essentially, what you want to do at this point is commercial zones for trade, right? Because trade is converted into our consumer goods, and that's how we sustain our consumer goods. So if we're running low on consumer goods, we make trade. If we're running low on alloys, we make ally foundries or a city district. And then on our good old habitat here, it's just continuously order stemses until our habitat is full, in which case we'll start to add strongholds into the building slots. And this is kind of what we're going to be doing up until around year 10. So I'll be back around then. All right, everyone. At year 10, you're going to get your first election. And of course, what you want to do is you want any single leader to win, except for your starting leader. This will allow you to reform your government. Also, my starting leader just happens to be a materialist, so I really want to get them out of my council. I would really prefer if, like, my head of research wins this election, so we're just not going to touch anything until this election is done. In the meantime, I've just kind of built up these worlds a little bit more. Do keep in mind at this point, we're really starting to run low in pops. So this is kind of a problem. We're basically going to keep building up these planets until we have no basic workers left, because basic workers are just not very efficient, especially when you have the cranial mega trophy trait. So you're going to want to instead use star bases to produce a lot of your basic resources. This way you can easily get rid of farmers, get rid of your technicians, and just rely purely on space, as we are going to have a decent amount of alloys to continuously build up these stations, so it's a pretty good idea. Also, let's go ahead and probably put our head of research back. I mean, they are still a tier 3 leader, so I probably want to keep them around for now. And then we can also think about starting to expand our council and level up our leaders here. And because we have a newly elected leader, we can reform our government immediately year 10, getting rid of now obsolete things like parliamentary system, even functional architecture, and then we can go ahead and select things that will help us more now, such as merchant guilds and meritocracy. Let's go ahead and get those two civics in, and then we can get some brand new counselors as well. So of course we're going to want, why didn't that work? We want a director of trade. We want to put our highest level leader into that, and we do get the architectural interest trait as well, which is amazing. We get a principal instructor to help us level up our leaders faster, a head of research to, well, help us research faster, and then a minister of state, so we can train up a second official class leader, which can be useful pretty early on into the game, as it'll help us with our trade values a lot. And as you can tell, immediately we have excess trade, we have excess consumer goods, so we can go ahead and now focus on things like buying even more energy credits than we were before. This will give us a stable source of energy, allowing us to resettle our props around and focus even more on the knight's jobs than before. Yeah, these extra energy credits, we can just bulk buy a few as well. Yeah, just move over more Alaris to our capital, or from our capital to our habitat. And at this point, I would even move my capital over to this planet and move the leader as well, giving this planet the majority of the efficiency bonuses. And you can see we're already going to be spiking in things like tech and unity to this. Do keep in mind that we just lost our factions, and once they reform or grow in size again, we're going to get our boosts to our unity even higher. But 300 tech before the first situation of reward, even pops for our Knights of the Toxic God quest is really good, as this is going to jump up to basically 600 after that is complete, and we can just continue to build strongholds and wait for our second Ascension perk, where we can go ahead and take Voidborn with our habitats. Also, I've used our first Ascension pick to customize our techs a little bit. I've gone with Voidcraft and Biology, as those are the techs that I'm going to want most. And then in the meantime, yeah, just also continuously building up our star bases as well. Yep, just for those that basic resource output. Anyhow, with that being said, we're not getting very lucky in space. Not a lot of minerals in space, which is rather unfortunate, I would say. But it's not a huge deal, as we're going to be able to settle our planets sooner rather than later at this point, as you basically want to settle your first 2 colonies just before you're able to start your Biomorphosis Ascension. Or if you want synthetic, it's a little bit slower, but I've heard it's quite good as well. I just like to go Bio-Ascension with builds like this because it makes playing the game quite straightforward. Anyhow, I'll be back after we're getting closer to Ascension and we're scaling up really well. Alright everyone, at your second Ascension perk, it is very, very important you guys remember to go Voidborn. This will give your habitat a decent expansion. We went from 10 to 6 zones, so we can now continue to build out these orders denses and stack even more and more knights. Yeah, at this point in the game, stacking as many knights as possible is just the name of it. Stacking the knights also increases your situation speed a little bit, giving you more tech, more unity, and also the upgrades to your knights as soon as possible. We should be able to complete the entire situation comfortably before year 50, I believe, if we do everything properly. One thing I've seen players do is also build a research district on here, but we honestly need the unity from our knights more than the tech at this point, and we're getting more than enough tech, so we don't need to upgrade the output of our knights yet. We can do that later on into the game before we finalize our first habitat here. And yeah, at this point as well, is this the chief president? Yeah, that's the head of our empire. So we're going to turn the head of our empire into a statistician, and then one of the second scientists we have will be an analyst for our habitat there. And yeah, as we can see, almost 1,000 tech before the second situation even starts is genuinely amazing. And we get clone vats as well, so that can help us with our population growth. Right now, also, you might have realized, but we're producing almost our entire basic economy from these star bases here. They're just solar panels and hydroponics farming bays, giving us most of the energy credits we have and also most of the food, allowing us to kind of completely nearly abandon the worker districts. We're going to rebuild another basic resource planet on one of these planets here, but yeah, for now, as little basic resource workers as possible. Alright, here we are. The second quest is now done, meaning we can take another reward in tech output. And take a look at this, guys. We're going to be spiking up to just a ridiculous amount of tech here now. 2,000 tech at year 2020. Just a nice moment here. And our economy is still stable. It is weak now. It is very, very weak, but it is still alive, and that is what's important. And this is kind of the stage you'll be at most of the time if you have played everything properly. If we take a look at the distribution of jobs we have across our empire, it's super optimized. We have no workers. We have metallurgists and traders to sustain our basic economy, and then knights on our habitat, and that's basically it. We have like 100 mineral workers here because that's going to eventually be a mineral planet, and then the rest of our resources are coming from star bases, which we can no longer afford more of because we've kind of maxed out the amount of alloys we're making. Just we don't have any more pops to make any more alloys, right? But this is all going to change once we start Ascension in 3 months, so we'll be back then. And for the third Ascension perk, of course, Biomorphosis. There are other good options, but we definitely want something that gives us a good source of pops. Otherwise, we're going to struggle really badly with that. At this point, Also, we need to build the buildings to start the situation, which is, of course, a genomic research facility. We're going to be building one of these on every single one of our planets, although they're quite expensive, so it will take some time to be able to afford all of them. Let's build the one on Sirius Prime first, actually, because we're using the other ones just for some. Why is this so expensive? Is it because of the gravity storm? Oh, what is this? Yeah, it's probably because of the gravity storm. Planetary infrastructure cost. It expires in a few days, so we'll wait for that to pass over before we build that structure. Otherwise, we won't be able to afford that. The gravity storm is nice because I believe the Priest output does work on our knights, I believe, which is probably why we suddenly hit 2k there, which is definitely a little better than normal. Yeah, one of these might say gravity storm. I don't know. There's so many, it is hard to read. Maybe. Yeah, like I'm still scanning right now. Maybe it is, maybe it doesn't. I don't know if I know knights are considered bureaucrats. I don't know if they're considered priests, but I think they are. So it might be in there somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. I still wish they made the UI for viewing your job outputs better. I would love to see the per 100 pop output on knights. I don't want to see the overall values. I don't care. Right, but overall we can see we're using 55 alloys to convert into 2000 tech. Like, that's great to see, right? But I would like the per pop breakdown. And I remember it's actually visible somewhere. I just don't remember exactly where. There's just so much UI these days that it's kind of hard to figure out. Anyhow, let's go ahead and just get back to what we were doing. As you can see, our techs are absolutely flying by at this point, kind of to the point where it's somewhat difficult to keep up with them. So got to be careful about that. We get even another pick here, so we get to pick one more thing. We could go with reanimators. This is just a funny pick because what it does, 10% job efficiency for soldiers. That's basically the only output we want from that. The other option would be ascensionists. Since we are spiritualists, this is actually a great pick as well, and probably what we're going to go with here. Let's go ahead and pick Ascensionist, and this gives us +1 Ascension tiers, and that can really help with the upkeep issues that we're struggling with right now. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's also go ahead and put our council back in before we go bankrupt. This is one of the more annoying things about reforming your government, is just making sure you have your council optimized after every change. Definitely a little bit tedious sometimes, but let's go ahead and just fix that up. Do we want a Minister of Ascension here? Yeah, sure, why not? Minister of Ascension, and then let's try to find a scientist for this slot. And then, of course, continue leveling up those leaders. Fantastic. And let's just go with something like Biomorphosis right here. Speed up that technology we need just a little bit, even though I don't even think we'll finish it. As our Biomorphosis, that's not how you say it. Biomorphosis, has it started yet? Not quite. Not quite. But we have our genomic research facilities built, so it shall be starting pretty soon, which is really nice. And oh no, the gravity storm, or the cosmic storm, or whatever that was in this system, that was boosting the mining station output pass, so it's down from 27 to 3. But this is a good arc furnace system, right? If you ever see the double asteroid belt system, it's almost certainly a good arc furnace system. Oh wow, I have a lot of good arc furnace systems near me, by the way, which is amazing. And yeah, even my homeworld is a good arc furnace system because I am Sol System. That is mentioned in the build doc below, so hopefully you guys remember to copy that down. Could be my bad though, because yeah, I didn't mention it at the beginning, but I often forget as well. So my apologies there. Anyhow, once you start your biomorphosis situation, just remember one very important thing: never use any unity from here on out. We're going to be saving it for when our ascension is nearly done, so just keep that in mind. And we're going to do most of this off camera. We're going to go with the flexible traditions of mutation, purity, and then cloning, as we normally do. This is also mentioned in the build document, and then we'll be back when we're basically ready to ascend. All right, everybody, as we're almost done Ascension now, just 8 more months, one thing we gotta do is make sure we have a way to create a trade federation. The way I've done this is, in my frontier sector here, I've colonized a random planet that just happened to be at least 5 or more jumps away from my capital, and what you can do with this is immediately create a sector out of it, then go into your Planets and Sectors tab, and edit the sector, remove any unnecessary systems, so we're gonna get rid of everything here, also disable auto expand, and then you can go ahead and come back here, create a vassal, randomize the name. I don't really care about doing that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and make a vassal, and then immediately establish an embassy and release the subject, as we're going to be forming a trade federation with ourselves here. So let's go ahead and basically give them every guarantee and that kind of good stuff. And also, I just realized now we're probably still an isolationist from the beginning of the game. We can go ahead and turn this over to something better for us at this point, like mercantile. And we should be ascending anytime soon now as well, which is really nice. And we can just continuously also just zoom through these techs. Like, take a look at the tech times here. We're still at around 2.1k tech as the gravity storm flew over, and we lost that nice bonus that it was giving. But yeah, just take a look at just the sheer efficiency of what we're getting. 550 unity. We're ready to go purity now. And let's go ahead and immediately finish the purity tradition tree. I think we should have enough unity. I think it takes about 65,000, if I remember correctly, at around this empire size. So yeah, a little 68,000. And we can immediately take the eugenic hierarchy government, which is the strongest purity government, in my opinion, in the game. At this point, we can drop cranial mega trophy. Yes, very, very sad. And we're going to go erudite, fertile, robust, and the exotic gases trait. And we can take off one of these as well. Either physiological infertility or unruly are good choices to take off. Repugnant is just so free, you want to leave that on there forever. And we're going to set this as the default template, and we're just going to use the apply as well, because it's simply so cheap. 5 months of tech to apply the template to everyone. Might as well save some time, and we're also going to need to buy some gases. Otherwise, we will be running out of that. And at this point as well, if you want to, go ahead and change your agenda to the perfection protocol, giving us extra amounts of pop growth. We should be getting like an insane 20 plus pop growth on our main planets as soon as that situation there finishes, which is going to be really nice. And now we can finally focus on growing this basic economy as well to a point where it doesn't feel like a struggle bus. Yeah, as you can see, our basic economy is a complete struggle bus. We don't have enough minerals. We don't have enough alloys. We have just enough consumer goods, right? So yeah, we can get this fixed quite soon now. So let's start by turning on the mining subsidies. We're not going to have the other subsidies on yet, as we simply aren't working very many of those jobs. And at this point too, we can see we get a nice boost to our alloys, which is very, very nice. And we can also start to work on converting this planet to a more kind of full-time alloy planet, which is going to be really, really good for us as well. Although, as you can see, the minerals took a major hit. Don't worry, we can just force buy them with trade, and then we can use those minerals to go ahead and start building up these planets. So this planet here, I'm going to want this to be a commercial planet to take over a capital from its commercial duties, and then we can go ahead and have a full-time alloy world on our capital. We can go ahead and start expanding our habitat again, as we're going to be getting really good pop growth here, plus 21, right? Yeah, it's going to be hard to even keep up with the pop growth speed on some of these planets now that we are fully ascended. And you can also see we jumped up to a ridiculous 3.1 thousand tech per month. At this point, it's kind of just flying through the techs. And we're going to take Cosmogenesis for good measure. While we have still these cheaper early game techs, if you take Cosmogenesis, you can fly through it despite not having, if you take a look at the crisis situation here, like we're not going to be doing a lot of these things. We're not going to be building neural chips. We're not going to be building a science nexus. We're basically just going to be getting research new technologies points over and over and over again. And since our research is so fast, we're going to get some pretty good value out of this if we get it early enough. So I like to go Cosmogenesis before something like before something that would give us Arcology project. And I believe this is the quest situation 4, so we're going to go ahead and go with 2, option 2, and then 1. I believe that gives the best outcome. What are we out of now? We're out of food. Okay, silly us. Let's just buy a little bit to get that back under control. And I think we should just also like kind of dedicate one of these planets to a little bit of food. And what do we want here? Yeah, just a little bit of bonus to our orders keep. I believe that's the best possible outcome there. Yep. Yeah, amenities, homeworld buff, not really the best. The best rewards are, of course, the ones that boost our science output. But obviously not every single reward could be that, because that would be utterly ridiculous. Although that would be quite fun at the very least. And yeah, once we are able to get some workers on this planet, let's even move some workers off our habitat there, just to try to get some of these minerals going, as this will make our game much easier to play. Only plus 34 minerals right now, but we're gonna be buffing that massively as the game goes on. As you can see, we're making a nice bit of resources there. So all we really need to do now is get this Federation going, which we should be able to do basically any moment now. One thing they don't want is they don't want aggressive wars, so we can go ahead and change that, and now we can get this Federation, I believe. So perfect. We can get a trade league now. A trade league, of course, in case you don't know what that does, it turns your trade into 3 different resources: consumer goods, energy credits, and unity, and of course we still get some amount of trade, and that will massively boost our economy. And what's happening here? Why is this not going through? There we go. That took longer than it normally does for them to accept. So let's go ahead and take a look at our economy now. We should not be producing this insane excess of consumer goods anymore, but yeah, we are now producing an insane excess of energy, so we can stop buying that. We don't have to worry about any energy districts at this point as well, which is very, very nice. And we can start to focus more on trade, alloys, and other basic resources, which is very, very nice. Let's go ahead, and I think I want to put in a crystal plant here. Oh, I already have a crystal plant, so the next thing we're going to want is, I guess, the better metal buildings. Let's go ahead and go with a Ministry of Production. Metallurgic Research Lab will be coming in soon, and the Alloy Reclamation Plant to help out our alloy planet, get all those efficiency modifiers going. Just take a look at the speed of these techs too. Like, I'm barely thinking about the techs anymore. I'm just clicking buttons, max out this order stamps again, and yeah, we're probably going to be flying through traditions as well. So let's just go with unyielding is great, as it can give us some, decreased cost for star bases. It'll allow us to make more star bases too, but at this point, I don't think that's as important as just getting harmony done. The very, very nice pop demotion time, stability, and empire size from pops reduction from harmony is always just a small but nice kind of late game thing to have available to us. And yeah, at this point in time, right, we're just flying through these techs. We're going to be upgrading every planet that we can at the same time. Obviously, we don't want to do what we just did there, which is have any planet sitting still at any point in time, as that is not as efficient as we could be. So we're just going to kind of manage this off camera, and we'll be back in a few years once we get some of these very, very cool next quests completed. Alright, for this next quest here, quest reward number 5, we can go ahead and take the third option and then the second option, and we get a little bit of extra unity, and then very soon we'll get a pop-up that will let us upgrade our knights once more, which is already ridiculous considering what are we up to now, 4.7 thousand tech, and you can see how good tech rushes pull ahead of less meta tech rushes. And if you want to see more different tech rush builds, please let me know down below in the comments what build you would like me to hard focus on tech on in the future, as it could be pretty fun for me to make those videos. Also, you can see in the meantime, I'm also just spamming arc furnaces everywhere at this point, because why not? It's nice to have more arc furnaces. Arc furnaces are, of course, fantastic for your mineral economies, and this could even let us run a less designated mineral world, as this mineral world is definitely one of the bottlenecks that we're having to our empire right now, as we definitely need more minerals basically always, even at plus 300 minerals. As you can see, there's buildings everywhere that are just waiting for minerals to be built. And very, very soon we're going to want to focus on alloys as well, as we still don't have any ships to defend ourselves with. And yes, this would be very vulnerable in multiplayer for sure. Knights is definitely not, in my opinion, a very easy year 30 build to play if you wanted to have ships at year 30, or defenses. Defenses are a little bit easier with unyielding as a great option and good synergy with knights, but you would lose to most very, very powerful attackers who have been playing other similarly strong builds that are more focused around war. So yeah, do keep that in mind, that there are definitely weaknesses to these knights builds, especially around this time in the game. But very, very soon, we're going to start to be producing alloys as well, and then the build will be basically untouched by, in my opinion, almost anything else in the game as you start to play into the late game, and as you finish the very next quest, which will be very, very soon at this rate. Only in 32 months, we're going to finish the next quest and start to have a huge excess of alloys as we continue to rapidly build up our Knights world, which, as you can see, we're already starting to stack civilians on it. All our other planets are starting to fill up as well. And I think that means it is about time we can swap over our homeworld here to be dedicated to alloys only, which is going to be very, very nice. And yeah, we're just going to keep these arc furnaces rolling at all times as well. As soon as we can afford it, we're going to be clicking those up. And yeah, it should be looking good for a pretty good year 40 to 50 economy. So I'll be back in a bit. Alright, the 6th quest reward is one of the most important in the game, as if you take the 3rd option, this gets rid of the alloy upkeep on your knights. And, well, as you can imagine, that is something that is super amazing, and I would say kind of necessary, as now you can finally produce a kind of significant amount of alloys, which is going to be just amazing altogether. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we get up to. We're making 400 alloys now, so at this point we could finally militarize, which is really nice. And let's also, I think one of the best things we can do here is probably get one of those military command zones. Oh, we can't put it there. Okay, that was a waste of build time. My bad. Can we put one over here? No, we can't apparently. Oh, Military Academy. There we go. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. As the Military Academy will give us an extra bonus to our Knights efficiency. And as you can tell, we're just trying to stack a ton of that on our planet here, and we'll eventually add the Research District and start stacking those multipliers. We're a bit short on consumer goods right now, as you can see. So there's definitely a few more things we need to do before we kind of max that out. And now that we have orbital rings as well, time to surround our 3 measly planets with orbital rings. And as you can tell, Knights is just such an incredible build that even though we have terrible planets, right? We have a size 13 and a size 14, our homeworld, which is a size 18, and just our habitat, it's no problem for this build. Just look at these outputs, right? 400 alloys, 7,000 tech, stable basic economy, basically, right? Like, this is an incredible amount of output we're getting for very little cost. And whoa, what happened to? Oh, we have another planet here that we could that we could take at some point if we wanted to as well, like a little size 10 with an anomaly little Arctic world there. Nice. I've never seen that anomaly in Alpha Centauri before, if I'm being completely honest. And we can even join the galactic community now. Also, we have found one of the megacorps that I like to plant in any game where I play trade. So I can also go ahead and form a good megacorp situation as soon as I want to. What I'm trying to say is the commercial forum building is very nice to have on your trade planets. So yeah, we can get one of those at some point. I have an ancient refinery as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any minor artifacts, so I will have to do some of these dig sites before I'm able to get more of those. But we're kind of out of scientists. I don't even know where all my scientists ran off to. I'm sure they're somewhere in my empire. So yeah, what I should be doing here is just making sure all the scientists that I do have are excavating these archaeology sites, so I can get that going as soon as possible. And I'm probably just going to wait for battleships at this point as well, because we're really close, even though we're before 2250, making it 10 times less likely that we can actually hit battleships when we're dealing with this kind of resource output. You can imagine how we're pretty likely to find battleships anyway, and we should definitely be upgrading our star bases. Yeah, I will say, whenever you're playing Knights, everything tends to go super quickly. The moment you finish Ascension, it's pretty slow before then, and then you finish Ascension, all of a sudden you don't have enough micro within you to make sure you're optimizing everything in your empire at the same time. Because just take a look at these tech speeds. Like, we have 1 month for these shorter techs. It is really hard, no matter how good you are at Stellaris, to keep up with this. Let's also go ahead and take the Arcology project, which is one of the most important traditions in the game, and get ready to turn back into an Arcology here as soon as we're able to delete all these districts. So we need to make sure we have enough mineral storage, right? As that's another problem we have here, not enough storage. So let's just quickly adjust our capital to store some more resources. And we're also at this point going to want to try to find dark matter technology, which is in the physics tree. And honestly, it shouldn't take too long with this amount of tech. But just in case you can't find it, which can often be the case, the solution to that is you're going to want to go into the galactic community, which has just happened to form here, right? Do we even need to assign a leader? Not really, but we can anyway. And then go to the resolutions, and you're going to form the galactic market. And when you form the galactic market, you're going to go ahead and, when this finally forms in like a decade, it takes forever, you can just buy dark matter from the galactic market if somebody in your galaxy is making dark matter. If somebody isn't, it can be a bit of a pain. So yeah, just be careful about that. And yeah, also I'm just going to remember to continuously upgrade this urban world, and we can also finally put in this research district and start focusing down certain research, which is going to be really nice as well. So yeah, so many efficiency modifiers going on here. We're pushing 10k tech at year 42. This is just a Knights of the Toxic God moment here. This is actually incredible. I kind of want a screenshot of this because yeah, we're not going to see this every day. And I'm in Iron Man mode, so I can't come back. So let's go ahead and get a screenshot of that because that's awesome. Anyhow, let's go ahead and continue this now a little bit off camera until we probably start building ships next. All right, for quest reward number, is this 7 now? Jeez, we finished 6 and then 7. So yeah, it's time to go ahead and click the first option twice. Do not depart with a kiss, and this will give you a crazy new option to expand your habitat by 50%. Botanical Paradise, that's kind of cool. I don't know what this event chain goes into, so I'm going to go ahead and research it. Hopefully it doesn't end terribly for me. Hopefully I don't get rubricated again. I'm definitely going to remember that in the future. Yeah, I think I've actually, despite having like 3 to 4,000 hours in Stellaris, I've probably only been rubricated like 3 times. And I guess I just forgot from the past times that happened to me, except for the last one. That time I will remember clearly because I guess I wasn't paying attention in the past, and I just kind of, well, why are they, like, why am I giving up all my systems? I don't know. Um, well, we're getting void wormed anyway, so we should probably fleet up before the void worms get in too deep, because that could be a problem. That could be a major, major problem if we're not paying attention to that. Oh, let's not do that. That's a really expensive tech. Let's take a cheaper one, and let's get ready to start building some ships, because I don't want to get absolutely destroyed by these void worms, which is probably a real possibility at this point. So let's go ahead and see what kind of ships we have available. I don't believe I have any good battleship weapons, so we're just going to make a small cruiser fleet for now until we can get some better battleship weapons. Let's go ahead and go with something like kinetic battery, artillery core, and we don't have the best plasma weapons, so we're just going to go with this. And yeah, I guess just some more kinetics, I guess. Just a good mix between the two. We can go ahead and autosave this. Let's use an artillery computer as well, and just give it a basic name, and we'll make a better battleship design for later on once we get the access to the X-slot weapons. For now, we'll just make some of these Nya cruisers. Yeah, just queue those up so we don't get wrecked by the Voidworm Plague, which is getting kind of close, and I definitely don't think we have built enough shipyards in our empire, so I'm kind of rapidly trying to get those together. Well, what's this here? I don't really want to dismiss any leaders. Yeah, empire-wise happiness only minus 5% is not the end of the world, but yeah, we definitely need more urban districts here. Also, we should be looking at the orbital malls now just to see in case if there's any upgrades we could be doing there. Nothing too much, but I think what it is definitely time for, and I've probably had this available for a while, is just starting the archaeology project on our capital. That can be really nice. And then we'll get the archaeology project on Sirius done as soon as we build up the city districts, which we're definitely lacking a few for now, but it shall be done in some time. We're up to 11,000 tech, by the way. Just absolutely bonkers. I do wish I built fleets earlier because I'm a bit worried about the void worms, which I have since lost contact of, which is definitely going to make me a little bit nervous until I can find those guys and track them down. And we just need so many more shipyards as well, right? So let's just build a bunch of shipyards and kind of get that going. And I think we can just turn on, fortify the border. We have plenty of edict capped and fleet supremacy as well, right? Because we only need the mining subsidies. I guess we can turn on farming subsidies as well. We're going to have a few farming jobs very soon, just to help balance our food, which is one of the only resources that we're not actively building. And we're also here. We're going to build a data theorem facility, and then once we have some more spare consumer goods, a research institute will be great. And we can even build a research supply depot just to turn down the upkeep on these, but I think instead we're going to go with an efficiency boost, or maybe biology at the beginning. And then once we find some of the important biology texts, like the Galactic Commerce Hub, beautiful, we can go ahead and move on from that. And yeah, I still have biology selected as my preferred tech type because I'm really looking for that Neuro Regeneration Institute, which is the upgraded medical building, which can be spammed and can really bring your pop growth to the next level when playing a build like Knights. So yeah, anyhow, Planetary Analyst, beautiful. I believe that's the only upgraded leader type for analysts here. So as you can see, our analyst is doing well. Our director of trade is doing well. Very, very nice. Good leader traits across the board there. Let me just quickly go over the traits that are helping us a lot right now, just in case you're unaware. Planetary Analyst is not the most crazy. All it does is it gives your basic resource workers a small output in basic resource, but it also gives your researchers a small output in basic resources, which is kind of cool. But the main thing is Collaborator, just giving you a general focus. Physics focus is great for late game, and the analyst trait itself gives another plus 10%. So yeah, we're stacking so many percentages now, I don't even want to look at it. But let's look at it anyway. Let's take a look at our knight's jobs, and yeah, I mean, good luck reading through that. Where's the total? I want the sum, right? I don't want to know. Well, I would like to know all the different breakdown, right? But I would also like just one number at the top that says total efficiency bonus 1000% or something. You know what I mean? I don't know what the sum of these percentages are. They're a bit of a headache to add up. I'm too lazy to go read that carefully and add that up. So I guess somebody has and somebody knows, but not me. So yeah. Anyways. My kind of tech strategy at this point in the game is just take the cheapest techs that don't unlock anything new that I don't want, and that way I can just very quickly cycle and look for the techs that I do want that will boost, that are the Fallen Empire buildings, which Fallen Empire buildings have no requisite buildings from what I believe, or maybe they do, I can't remember. Yeah, they probably definitely do, but I think I should have most of the important ones for the buildings that I actually need at this point, so it's just a matter of just lucking into finding them. Let me go look at the tech tree actually just to confirm that. So I've been talking to a paused video for a while. Oops. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I did look up the requirements for the Molecular Revitalization Institute and the upgrade for it. And the main thing is you just need a high enough crisis level. So yeah, it's going to take us some time to get to that necessary crisis level. I think we're almost there, to be honest. Let's go ahead and take a look. Yeah, we just need to get to Calamity. Which means we're going to need to research just a few more technologies, and by a few, probably like a year's worth, if we remember to click on time, which is one of the main issues right now, is just trying to click every single time we have one, as there's so many clicks that we need to do. I would like to also enable this this research institute. We just can't quite afford it yet. Don't have enough trade. I think we should just buy some extra energy credits with our trade as well, because we have tons of trade. We have way too many minerals at this point. We've definitely overbuilt a little bit, but that's okay. Another thing that I want to do is I need to build storages. So it's time to build storages. I love making a planet that is just, the basic resources you need, and then storages everywhere, because, otherwise you have to continuously keep building stuff like every a few minutes to just not overcap on resources, which is definitely annoying. So I like to have at least a few 100,000 in storages. Also, we've probably had this orbital ring upgrade for a while. We should be using those, as those are going to help our economies out quite a bit, giving us extra base output to our alloys and trade respectively. Very nice. Actually, you don't get base, you only get percent for trade, but hey, small details there. I'm just picking some things. I'm not thinking too much about it. Architectural sense at this point will be really good as well. And yeah, oh my god, we get 3 extra upgrades to our capital, and then on top of that, we get to activate this at some point whenever we get access to dark matter. Do we have any black holes? There's a black hole all the way down here, so I guess I should get ready to take that, and that should be very nice. Don't want to do any Fallen Empire technologies yet, as they're just really expensive. So, ooh, Apis Bastion. That is one we definitely want to do, as that will give us even more Knight's jobs, which you can imagine is excellent. Alright, I probably should have done this earlier, but we can go ahead and get ready to kill our toxic god, wherever that is, over here. And in order to do that, I have since learned the best way is to use frigates. So let's go ahead and use some torpedo frigates. Let's just use some Devastator torpedoes. And I'm not sure it matters too much what we put in the other slot. Let's see, these have 100% shield penetration, 50% armor damage. So since we're penetrating shields and then hitting onto armor directly, I believe the best thing to combine with this would be missiles, which also penetrate shield and then will directly hit the armor, which is nice. And yeah, I don't really know. Torpedo computer is probably fine here. We're lacking power of all things, so let's just replace a couple of the shields with some more armor slots, and that way we should be able to use maxed out components. And yeah, this should be a very, very strong torpedo frigate. chip, and apparently you only need about 50k. I don't even believe you need that much in my testing, so let's just go ahead and build a fleet of these. And we have tons of alloys at this point, right? Like 800 alloys, so it's just a matter of building time. So we're going to go ahead and get that done, and we'll be back after that. We can go Galactic Force Prediction at this point as well, just to make our fleets even bigger, which is nice. Oh, we get this leader. That's perfect. That's a great source of leader XP. So if you ever get this leader, NASA's Dementor or whatever his name is, just go ahead and set them to investigate anomalies, and they'll level up your council pretty quickly. Oh, and we even have jump drives. Let me make sure I have those equipped on my frigates, because that would be nice. Of course I don't. So yeah, my first batch of frigates will not have jump drives, unfortunately, and I'm too lazy to fix that. Alright, those built up pretty quickly. I think we can just go fly them in now. One thing I am going to do is, at this point in the game, we probably should have been able to have this on a lot earlier. You can just enable every single edict. And you should never run out of the resources at this point, because you're just going to be making an absolutely massive amount of them. And we can focus on things like getting our planet upgraded to maximum here. We are a little bit short on influence to make everything happen, but that's fine. We're going to be collecting influence quite quickly, as we're going to hit Unity ambitions at some point, right? We have just an insane amount of society tech. We have an insane amount of every tech, let's be real. How much tech do we have? 24,000, right? And this is only going to be pushed up farther once we can expand our habitat by a whopping 50% on these 23 districts that we already have. And God is testing us, summon the fleet, and I believe we just always want to slay the toxic god. Unless you have something specific you want to do with it later on, but I don't think that we do. Let's see if we have enough here. Well, yeah, once the frigates get in range, I reckon this should be killed pretty quickly. Or apparently not. We don't have enough. Okay. I guess, yeah, a lot of the fleet power wasn't in frigates, and it was probably in cruisers, which is definitely a bit of a mistake, so oops. Well, yeah, I can't remember how much exactly was in cruisers, but we obviously had too many. Not a huge deal. Like, what did we get it down to? It looks pretty low. 18% shields left. The hull is almost still full, so I guess we weren't that close, but we'll get them next time. We'll just repair up and go back in, and we should be fine. Let's reinforce the fleet and repair it as well, and we should be fine. Yeah, if we still have 40k left here. That's the nice thing about ships. As long as you don't have them on no retreat, which is terrible, do not use no retreat. You'll most of the time get most of your ships back after an engagement, and you can just rebuild quickly. Get a repair in every single time you fight, and then you'll never be too bad off. Yeah, maybe I should have put disruptors along with the other slot. That might have been better. Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh well. Yeah. Anyways, in the meantime, yeah, just we only have 4 planets, guys. We only have 4 planets, and we're pushing 25,000 tech. Let's just go in for round 2 as well, and maybe we'll have it this time. I believe its shield hasn't even regenerated yet, which is kind of funny. So yeah, if not, I mean, like, maybe we should let it build up a little bit more. So oops. Arc emitters are nice. Still keep missing in society. Just brutal. We have biology focus, and we just can't find the upgraded biology buildings. So yeah, we should get it anytime soon, though. I would imagine anytime soon. Our tech is absolutely insane. It's going to be even better now. With the extra tech slot available. Let's see if we get lucky here. Nope. Just pick the 9,000 tech that costs only 1 month. Another roll of the dice, another miss, and we'll just go for another roll of the dice again. It should be anytime soon now, right? Anytime. And yeah, like we see as the Aegis complex is complete, we're getting even more and more. And did we remember to click the slay button? Oh no, did I click the wrong option here? Oh no. I see that I have a toxic god on my side. That's really bad. That's not what I wanted to do. Well, that means we're not going to be able to get any more habitats, I don't think, because we need the maw, the toxic god relic. So yeah, I must have accidentally closed the button while I was talking. Oops. Or doing my text. So yeah, don't do that here. I'm in Iron Man, by the way, so I can't go back. But if you choose to slay the toxic god instead of whatever I had clicked, which is now having one on my can I like release it and then slay it? I don't know if there's a recovery from this, but yeah, we don't need the toxic god. Yeah, unfortunate. Yeah, you're supposed to slay it, and when you slay it, then you can build more toxic god habitats. Not a huge deal, in all honesty, so just don't do what I did there. But honestly, you don't need to, because just one single toxic god habitat is producing such an insane amount of resources already, like up to 25,000 tech now, and we don't even have our upgraded buildings yet, or the most important upgraded buildings, so we'll get those eventually. Cascading catastrophe. Well, let's try to restore it, I guess. I don't like the sound of cascading catastrophe. These are literally just, we have one tech option that is not a Fallen Empire tech that will take forever to do. Okay, just keep rolling. Do we need to do a certain amount of Fallen Empire techs? I don't believe we do. Let's see. 0. Number of okay, so basically, if we've researched 4 other Fallen Empire Society texts, then we can't get it until we reach higher crisis levels. But I don't believe that we have done 4 yet. So yeah, we should just continue to do the other texts until we just happen to roll it. Oh, and we're Cosmogenesis level 4 now, which is nice. That means we should be way more likely to find it. I believe we are now like 10 times, more than 10 times more likely to find it. 0.02, so 50 times? Yeah, there we go. Instantly. Okay, nice. There we go. I have been lucky enough to find that building just like instantly before, so I guess I didn't realize how unlikely that was. But now we have it, so not a huge deal. Also, do we have the Galactic Market yet? Yes, we do. Awesome. So now we're going to go ahead and just buy some of this. Buy some dark matter, of course. I don't know how much to buy. Let's just buy like 10 monthly and just buy another 500. And then we can immediately go to our habitat here. Oh, activate that decision. I forgot it's instant. And then fill out the rest of these slots. And we're going to get just a truly ridiculous amount of Knights jobs after this. Are we going to get to 10,000 Knights jobs? We're going to get close. I don't think we'll quite get there, but we'll have close to 10,000 Knights jobs, which will be amazing. And now I can kind of more freely click text as well. And at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our habitat, and we're going to replace the medical building with the Fallen Empire medical building. And we don't need as much Unity as well, so we're going to get rid of this for another Fallen Empire amenities building. I think this thing only gives upkeep, or does it give output as well? So this thing only gives upkeep. So we want to replace that building with the other one, the Sacred Nexus, which actually gives job efficiency. So yeah, we'll go ahead and slide that up in priority as well, and these 2 buildings. And then on our other planets, right, we're just going to replace every single building that is not 100% necessary with another Molecular Revitalization Institute. Since we don't need this many minerals as well, we're going to go ahead and replace these with Commercial Nexi. And this will give us more building slots to build more funny buildings on. And then on this planet as well, this is probably getting a little bit repetitive, every single building as a Revitalization Institute. Very, very nice. All right, and our next tech role was indeed the Bioregeneration Institute. At this point, you only want to do manual tech for a little bit longer. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to keep researching these infinity theses until we hit Cosmogenesis level 5, and then we're going to go on auto tech. But before then, we need to finish the crisis path out. So yeah, just go ahead and finish this off here. Also, fleet-wise, we can really, at this point, do whatever we want, right? We have an insane amount of tech. We have a good amount of alloys. 1.1000 is not the best amount of alloys ever, but in case you're wondering, this is the ship design I like to use to kill Crisis, just because it works against all of them, and it's not particularly good or bad against any single one that you happen to spawn against. You can custom build ships that custom beat the Crisis you're trying to go for, but instead I like to just go for a more broken economy instead. So instead of making 20% more efficient ships, I make 20% more ships, which is not good for your lag, but it's a lot less thinking, which is what I typically am going for when I'm going for games. I like to just casually AFK thinking these days. So yeah, let's go ahead and get that done. Very, very awesome. And yeah, I can't wait to see what this maxed out habitat looks like. I hope we can get it up to like 60,000 tech, which is a decent amount to get from one planet. So yeah, we'll keep working on that. All right, once you reach Tier 5 Crisis, as we finally have now, what you can go ahead and do is once you research the 2 most important buildings, which is the Hyperforge, I would highly recommend using your Tech Ascendancy to go ahead and put research restrictions on, and then allow auto research, as at this point in the game it's very tedious to continuously click on your auto research. We're also up to like 32k tech. I know it says negative, it says 23k right now, but we have an event going on from one of the Infinity Thesis, which is giving a negative 80% modifier, so without that we'd be at 32,000 tech. And yeah, just look at the amount of modifiers at this point, like truly ridiculous. I don't even know where to go from here. Like there's even more that we can get, to be honest. I think we are already Ascensionist, right? Yeah, so I guess we're almost done. We only have a few modifiers we can really get left, but one of them is Squire stacking, as stacking Squires gives you more efficiency, and we have a lot of Squires to stack still. So what I would do is I would take something like a basic resource world that we have here. I've basically completely converted this thing from having support zones to just being completely covered with as many bioregeneration institutes as possible. As you can see, that's resulting in 85 pop growth, and that means we can go ahead and just start like mass resettling pops over to our habitat here. And as we resettle pops to our habitat, our tech is just going to grow and grow and grow. So I'm going to keep doing this for a few years, and probably at like year 70 or even before that we'll call it, and I'll try to get to 100,000 tech on this one habitat, although that could be pretty difficult, as we'll probably start to have some stability issues, especially since we didn't manage to make our second habitat, thanks to my accidental misclick on the final situation there, not slaying the toxic god. If there's a way to recover from this, like if I can go slay it now again or something like that, please let me know, because I actually wouldn't be aware that you could do that. Anyhow, yeah, as you can see, our economy is just completely insane now. We have 4,000 spare trade as well. So if you're ever lacking a resource, like I'm lacking 150 energy credits, just go ahead and buy that. You can definitely afford it at this point. And we're going to get this trade planet maxed out too by covering it with as many interstellar commerce nexuses as possible, which gives an extra +1 or plus half trader output per building, which is really nice, and then 1% trade modifier for the entire empire, and that's a building which of course stacks, giving a ridiculous amount of pop output later on. And this is kind of a final look for our main habitat here. What we're going to start to do is we're going to put field dynamic centers on, because physics is the most important late game tech to stack our energy weapon damage. And other than that, right, there's not that much left to do. What we can do is, of course, we need a science nexus somewhere. I'm not really sure exactly where I want to put one, or do I already have one? I don't think I do, so... Oh, maybe I do, because it's grayed out. Why is it grayed out? Cannot build due to existing megastructure. I forgot where I put it. I'm being completely honest. Where is there a science megastructure? Star bases, shipyards, military fleets. What? I don't see... Did I queue it behind something, and then that ship is still going, running around trying to do other stuff? Probably. Let's just move a whole bunch of shit. Let's see if I can build it now. Where is this science nexus? Okay, I'm going to spend some time finding it. Alright everyone, here we are at 2270, and after way too much resettlement, we've finally done it. 100,000 tech from one habitat. As you can see, we have a ridiculous amount of squires. We're also reached about the housing limit for our habitat here. And if we take a look at the efficiency modifiers, we're getting some just truly ridiculous numbers now. If we open this up, we can see that from pop jobs is going to be just an enormous amount of extra output here. I don't even know where to read it from. Empire Capital plus 50%, high stability plus 30%. If we look at the species here, from pop jobs plus 800%, so we're almost at a 10x pop efficiency. We're more than 10x pop efficiency multiplier on our knights overall, which has resulted in the ridiculousness of 100,000 tech from a single pop. Genuinely amazing. Yeah, as you can see, I've gotten these pops from having just 200 pop growth. A casual 200 pop growth on some of these planets. We're still upgrading our second Ecumenopolis here, so there's still a lot of work to be done. Of course, this alloy world is not even close to max yet either, so there's tons of space to grow there. Like, we could get this planet up to probably around 10,000 alloys per month, or something ridiculous like that. So, yeah. Anyhow, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode. The key takeaways is, if you want to do a truly great tech rush, obviously not every build is as broken as Knights, but you need something that can either ascend quickly or ascend without the need for unity, allowing you to focus on tech and still ascend in a reasonably fast manner. All the builds I mentioned at the beginning of the video are great, and I have videos on my channel of myself tech rushing with those as well, so please check those out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!